Hi, I'm AJ Trott.
And I'm Jeff Swiderski with AnnieMac Home Mortgage's Momentum Group, your trusted partner in the home buying process.
At AnnieMac, we can strengthen your offer with our innovative program, Cash to Keys, giving you a competitive edge by allowing you to make a cash offer on your new home.
Together, we've helped over 1,000 families move into their dream homes, and we'd love to do the same for you.
Give us a call today at 401-486-0853 to get started.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Keeping It Real Estate with AJ Trott and Jeff Swiderski. Although today, I guess I'm AJ Trott, which makes a lot of sense. If you think about it, I mean, I'm pretty much AJ, right?
You are now well-versed in mortgages.
I am not well-versed in mortgages. I don't know what I'm talking about, but that's why you're here, buddy. Ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to introduce your host for the show, Jeff Swiderski. And today we are joined by residential realtor with Keller Williams, Jessica Gardner. How are you?
Great. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. So what are we talking about today, Jeff?
Yeah, I mean, we really wanted to have Jess on for her local expertise. She's, I'll let her introduce herself a little more, but local to Westerly, really knows the area. And so, yeah, Jess, if you want to talk a little bit just about yourself and your business first, that'd probably be a great place to start.
Yeah. So I'm a residential realtor. I live here in Westerly. I grew up in South Kingstown for the most part from age 10 and on, but lived all over Rhode Island. I'm also actually licensed in Rhode Island, Connecticut, and Massachusetts. So I do work all over, but this is my local expert area. New London County, Connecticut, and Washington County, Rhode Island are my favorites, but I go everywhere. Yeah.
That's awesome.
And yeah, I can speak to that. I mean, we've done transactions in both of those areas recently. So yeah. I mean, she very, very well knows those markets. It's always cool to see.
Yeah.
So yeah, today we wanted to talk about kind of the current trends, things we're seeing. What's influencing someone to sell a house? What's influencing someone to buy a house? There's always negative, we'll call them spin headlines in the media. Affordability is down, home prices are too high, interest rates are too high. It makes more sense to rent. There's just this never-ending onslaught of, I don't want to call it blatant misinformation because some of it does have legs, but a lot of it is more, we'll say suppressive of like a growth mindset. It's always easy, right? Like you're a kid and you have a dream and that one friend says, oh, that's stupid. And then you don't chase that dream because you trusted in this person to tell them about your dream. So if you have this dream of home ownership and then you turn on the news and 15 people tell you that's a bad idea, it's easy to kind of cower into that. So what are, some of the things that you're seeing, especially with home sellers, maybe?
So to speak to that a little, so I know a lot of people are stuck with this awesome rate and they're afraid to buy again. But if you think about all the equity you have in your home and your credit card interest rates and your car loan and all those other loans you might have, those interest rates tend to be maybe even a little higher than your new mortgage could be. And when you take out that equity in your home, you're actually could possibly be paying less in the end, or a break even, and end up with the bigger, nicer house. So there's a lot that goes into it, and Jeff can definitely help you work through all that when you're ready, and then I can help you find the home. But it's not all just about the rates of the home. There's more to it. So
yeah, no, and that's actually a great, I always say shameless plug, and Ben says I'm allowed to because it's my show.
You're supposed to plug yourself.
Yeah, shameless plug.
Yeah.
We have tools that we use. So Jess and I will sit down with a client and do a buyer's consultation. We can do the exact same thing with a seller where that person is, I don't want to say only looking at it through one lens, but if they have $400,000 in equity in their current home, which is very realistic, the national average is $320,000. We live in New England where that number is way higher because a lot more people want to live here. Our homes grow in value faster. So if you have $400,000 in equity, a lot of people are looking at it and saying, okay, if I take $400,000 and put it down on my next house, where does that land me on balance and where does that land me on payment? And is that going to be comfortable? Whereas we can look at it and say, To Jess's point, you're paying, 7% on your car loan at $700 a month. You're paying 30% on a credit card at $700 a month. You start adding up those balances and payments, and maybe it makes sense to take, 70,000 of that equity and wipe the slate clean, and then take the other, whatever, 330,000 and use that as your down payment. And all of a sudden your budget is more favorable in the new house. You come out net ahead, and you wipe the slate clean. Think how many people go to bed and they think about, oh, I have to do this, I have to roll over that payment. And you're sitting there thinking about all these little ticky tacky things. It can make sense to, quote, unlock that equity that you have in that house. Paper wealth is awesome. It's your net worth. But in a house, it's just sitting there. It's not doing anything for you. So if you have an easier path to utilize that and get into your dream house, it's a really powerful tool.
Definitely. So yeah, another thing that works really well for sellers, and that's the Cash to Keys program that we've been utilizing quite a bit. So essentially the buyer can start shopping for a home. They'll use the equity towards buying the new home. Cash to Keys buys the home for them, and then they put their home on the market within 2 weeks of going into this new home. And then you get that, ease of mind where you're not like, okay, how am I going to move all my stuff in one day? And oh my gosh, I've got to sell my home, and I've got to make all these offers. And the sellers don't want to take my offer because they have to wait. And there's this unknown of when am I going to sell my home? So it makes your offer essentially like cash. And it's winning offers more often than not when I'm utilizing this program. And then, they can take things a little easier and get the home that they want. So it's really working out well.
Yeah. And I mean, you experience it more than I do, but I'm involved in those conversations where someone is so afraid to sell their house because they hear that their neighbor, they put their house on the market on Wednesday and it was sold by Sunday, and they don't think they're going to find a house that fast. You can remove that friction, that stress by having an actual documented plan. Going into anything that large in life without a plan is terrifying. So it's actually, taking the time to just sit down and lay out exactly what that will look like. So I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, absolutely.
And while we're on the subject of Cash to Keys, we'll kind of just take it a step back, just in, general human nature, I guess. But, put on your listing agent hat. You're selling someone's house and you're, receiving, in this market, maybe 10 offers at times, maybe more. What are, just some of the main things that always grab your attention? Is it, financing type? Is it down payment amount? Is it cash? Is it just kind of, guide us through? Of course, it's case by case based on the seller. But
I mean, it absolutely all weighs into it. But again, this program allows your offer to look like a cash offer, which cash is king when it comes to offers. You could have two very similar offers, but one's cash and one has financing. They're going with the cash offer. So, obviously I never advise my buyers to skip inspections, but if as a seller, if you see an offer with no inspections, you're like, okay, I don't have to haggle. I'm going to go with that one. And then obviously, the deposit and all of those things weigh into it. I always ask the sellers, if I have the buyer, what's your ideal closing date? We want to make it as smooth for them as possible, as long as it works for the buyer. So I always ask that ahead of time. When would you like to close? Some people want to close really quickly, and some actually don't want that quick 2-week closing. Some need a little extra time. So yeah, there's a lot that goes into it, and it's definitely a case by case basis.
Yeah. And the reason I asked that question is, and you really built on the point I was going to make, is less contingencies in the offer. Those are really your bargaining chips, if you will. You wouldn't walk into a car dealership and look at the guy and say, I'm buying a car today, I'm not leaving here until I buy a car. He just set the hook. He doesn't really have to negotiate that hard. You're doing the same thing when you're making an offer to buy a house. You don't want to go to that home seller and say, I expect the world. I'm going to give you less money than you expect, and I'm going to have all of these protections for myself. And you're going to sit there and wonder, when you're closing and if it's going to go through. And all of these things, there's just so many layers to that onion of things that can kind of, I don't want to say derail a transaction, but allow the buyer to back out, whether that means, they just don't want to move anymore, or they found another house, or all of those things. So from the seller side, they want security. They don't want you to think
what
that,
ifs.
yeah, like they're going to back out for the inspection, for the mortgage. There's just so many layers
appraisal.
to that. Yeah. So, removing those is adding to your bargaining power as a buyer. And, that is where I also wanted to lead with that question is, how often do you hear or see, from yourself, colleagues, whatever it is, where a cash offer actually does get accepted, even though it's not the highest offer in the pile?
Oh, absolutely. I just had a seller where we had 16 offers actually.
Wow.
And this was an investment property, so it was a lot of cash, investor offers. Most of them did not do inspections. And the highest offer did have inspection contingency. So we took the next highest offer with no inspection contingency.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't the highest offer, but for the seller, it was the best offer.
Yeah. Yeah. It's back to negotiating and security of,
Right.
knowing we're going to close at this price. And
right. Exactly.
again,
We're not going to have to haggle, 2 weeks down the road when they get the inspection report. This house clearly needed a ton of work. It was an investor's dream. It was priced correctly for an investor. But inspections was a no on that one. We had 15 offers with no inspections.
Yep.
And won the highest offer with inspections. And it was significantly higher, but 2 weeks later they could say, okay, well, this and this and this, and now I want to offer this, which very well could have been less than the highest offer that we did take. So.
Right. Yeah. And that is why you need professionals in your corner for this stuff.
Right.
Because, anybody that tries to go it alone in any of these things, you're just shooting yourself in the foot, because even when we think we know, we don't know you guys do this day in and day out. And that is a familiarity with the negotiation process, with the opportunities that are out there, with all of those things. Obviously, you can't really buy a house without a mortgage lender unless you have a ton of cash.
Right.
But it's important to find the right real estate agent and to find the right mortgage lender, and to have those conversations early and often. At what point in the decision process of, hey, I want to buy a house, or the ideation process of I want to buy a house, should someone call you? Or I want to sell?
Well, they definitely should, talk to me right away, but depending on where they are, in the case of a buyer, a lot of people come to me and they say, okay, I really want to go see this house. I want to see it tomorrow. And I say, okay, have you talked to a lender? Do you know what your budget is? Well, no. Okay, well, we really shouldn't start shopping yet, because you might look at a $500,000 house and your budget is max 400. And now this $500,000 house you saw is going to be the one you compare everything else to. And you're never going to fall in love with the right house that you could actually afford. So definitely you can reach out to me anytime. But if you're a buyer and you're not pre-approved, I'm going to direct you to Jeff to get that pre-approval first before we start looking at a home.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and that's why Jess and I work so closely, because and you said from a seller standpoint as well. I'm not going to paint with a super broad brush, but it's really hard to be an average just person and know everything about real estate. It just is. You can go on Zillow, or you can go on Realtor.com, whatever website you pick, and get an idea of what your home value is, but you're not looking at some of the more granular details of lot size and specifics of square footage, whether it's in the basement or above grade, and that does it count as a bedroom, does it have a closet and a window, can the septic system support it? Like, there are so many details that Jess pays attention to in how to value a property and what your equity position actually is. So that's why I say get way ahead of that curve. If you're thinking that you might want to move, just have the conversation, at least have an idea of what your home value is, how much equity you do have to work with, because same thing. Home values are growing at such a rapid clip that we'll ask people, what do you think your home's worth? And they say 500,000. And in reality, it's almost 600,000.
Yeah.
Like, where are their dreams if they thought they had another $100,000? It's a different conversation.
I spend as much time recreationally on Zillow and Realtor.com and all of those websites as anybody. And I also have been for the last 5 years doing or more
recreationally.
What?
I'm still laughing at
recreationally. And it's a great like daydream thing. Like, let me go look at this, or like, let me look up every house that I know the address of and just see what the Zestimate is. And I've also been doing marketing for realtors and mortgage lenders for at least 5 years. Right. So I've written blogs on people's behalf. I've done all of this stuff. I am as educated about real estate as a non-real estate professional could possibly be. I know nothing. like genuinely, if you asked me to actually like do anything, have any answers about my own house, about a family member's house, do you know what I mean? Like, I know the people that they need to call, but I don't know the details of anything. And you can't really get more in the weeds of being the terminology and everything else being put in front of you more than me doing marketing for these organizations every day for the last 5 years. And yet I have no idea what I'm actually talking about when it comes to that, because I'm not a professional in it. And that's why, like, it's so important. And I've said this before on shows with you, Jeff. It can be, and I think that one of the reasons why people will sometimes be like, hey, I saw a house on Zillow that I really want, and there's an open house tomorrow. I'm going to call a realtor. And like, the mortgage lender's scary. The mortgage lender's scarier than calling the realtor, because it gets real. And now you have to talk about your finances, and now you have to do that. And it's more intimidating, but it's always better to know.
Yes.
It's always better to see. If you think you want to buy a home, but you might not be ready to buy a home right now, but you want to someday, you want to in the next year, you want to in the next 5 years, call a mortgage lender. Have a conversation with them. See if you like them. If you are not ready to buy a home in the next 5, if you think that you are 5 years away from buying a home, they might be able to actually show you that you're a year and a half away from buying a home. Start with a mortgage lender. And then, if you start with someone like Jeff, he's going to introduce you to someone like Jessica. And that's going to be, if you find someone that you trust, you're going to, especially, if you're a buyer, if you find somebody that you trust, they're going to have great relationships with wonderful realtors like the two of you do.
Right.
I mean, what a perfect segue too. And I kind of subscribe to the idea that a realtor is really, like, you're usually getting a network. If you're working with the right realtor, let me put it that way, you're getting a network. And I mean, Jess wears a lot of hats, and some of them blow my mind, but like, her network, I'll let you talk to this more than I will, but her network of, very trusted professionals and how close she is to tradespeople and just everyone you need. If you want to just talk about that and how it helps in a transaction or even after a transaction.
Yeah. So I actually, for example, I was just talking to a new buyer yesterday about, they're ready to put in an offer, and they're asking about like some stonemason work and some, tree work. And I said, I absolutely have referrals for you for all of this. And I just want you to know that after closing day, I don't disappear. I'm still here for you. You can reach out to me anytime. And I have professionals that I know and trust to help you with everything there is to do with home. So, and then speaking of the Zillow, I just wanted to get back to, using Zillow to price your home is like asking me to price a home in Alaska. I mean, I can take the public facts and put it in a form and compare to things that, look similar, but without knowing the area and being in the home, you're not going to get that really exact number that you should be listing for. So Zillow can help in a way, but it's not super accurate.
Yeah. Well said. I mean, I think we all can, kind of generalize that in our mind. Like there are parts of a city you would want to live in. There are parts of a city you wouldn't want to live in. Think of,
and I can't steer you away from certain parts of a city, but I can send you like a neighborhood report or direct you to talk to the local police station if I feel like maybe you should.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just, it's information. That's
yes.
all. Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wasn't trying to paint you into a corner there.
No. So just,
But those are those are all of the things that you need to know. And yeah, I've always thought that was very funny. Like you look on Zillow and you're like, oh my God, Zillow says that my house is $500,000. That's so weird. And then you talk to your neighbor that has the exact same house as you, and they're like, I just sold my house for for 350,000. It was nowhere near that because of this, and this, or the opposite, and it's higher because it's a great tool for window shopping, and it's a great tool for active listings, but the Zestimate and stuff you should not pay attention to. Yeah. Call a realtor and ask them ask them what the deal is with there. What else do you guys want to talk about before we go?
So Super Bowl's coming up.
Yeah.
And just a little bit about, you all go to your friends or your family's home, not everybody, but a lot of people do for Super Bowl. And it often sparks people to start shopping. They go and hang out in this really awesome man cave, and they're like, I want a man cave, or, a really amazing, home for hosting friends and family. And suddenly you realize my home could never do this. So it does spark a little, after Super Bowl shopping. So it's interesting to see.
Spring is
like
kicked off in early February.
It is.
Yeah.
It does spark some people to, realize that, hey, I think I want that.
So. I love that.
I feel like that is so true because, Christmas is another time that you will go to other people's houses, and I often find myself like, I wish I had a big garage like this. I wish I had these people have a furnished basement where the kids can play. That's really cool. I wish I had that, etc.
The front porch with all the twinkly lights. That looks so cool. I wish I had a house I could do that in.
Yeah. Sometimes I go back to the house that I used to live in, that my friends still live in, and they've transformed something, and I'm like, oh, I wish I had that. But I'm like, I could have had that. Wait. But then, there's also great stuff about where I live. But anyway, that's a great point. And also, you hear a lot of stuff about winter being a tough time in the real estate market, not as many houses or whatever. Does spring really bring out more?
So it does ramp
action?
up a little bit. But one thing I would say for both buyers and sellers, winter is a great time to buy or sell, because as a seller, you're going to have less competition.
Yes.
And as a buyer, you're going to have less competition.
Yeah.
There's not as many people buying or selling in the winter because, as a seller, if you're selling in the winter, likely you have a real need for it. And same as a buyer.
Yeah.
People aren't just out window shopping so much when it's cold and snowy, and people tend to be staying inside. So,
and that's a great thing. If you're a seller and you're selling in the winter, you probably have a need for it, which means if you're a buyer trying to buy in the winter, the sellers have a need for it. Yes. They're going to be more motivated to get rid of that property. Absolutely. That's great. I love that. How can people contact you?
So my phone number is 401-932-4326, and my email is yourrealtorjessg@gmail.com. I on websites online, if you just look up my name, Jessica Gardner, Realtor in Rhode Island, I'm sure you'll find me on many sites, and you can see any testimonials about me on all the different websites there are out there.
I love it. We already know where to find you, Jeff.
I hope so. I'm right here.
You're right here all the time. Thank you guys so much for being here. Final question. Since we talked about the Super Bowl, Chiefs or Eagles?
Eagles.
I'm I'm a Cowboys fan, and
Oh God, I'm sorry.
I have literally spent my entire life despising the Eagles, and I don't want to see the Chiefs win 3 in a row. So
Yeah, I'm going Eagles. We have to.
So you're voting asteroid?
I'm going to be closing my eyes. Like,
Yeah.
It's going to be the most painful Super Bowl. Yeah. What is this, Super Bowl 59? Like, I could not imagine a worse scenario. So there's that.
Well, good to know.
Yeah.
Good to
That's
know.
my long-winded answer of I don't even want to watch it.
Who's the halftime show?
It's
I asked
I
someone
don't
the other
know.
day,
I
and
have
somebody
no
was like,
idea.
"Is T Swift going to make an appearance?" And I was like, "I think she probably wants to just watch the game for this
It's
one."
not
She'll be
Kendrick Lamar, is it?
That might be what I heard.
Kendrick
I think that
Lamar.
might be.
I have literally no
I
idea.
don't remember now.
Yeah.
All right, welcome back to Real Estate with the 3 least informed pop
Yeah.
culture people.
Yeah.
And that's what you want. You want real estate nerds. And
Yes.
these 2 people in front of me love what they do, and they love helping people just like you. So make sure that you give Jessica and Jeff a call today if you are looking to buy or sell.
Absolutely.
Thank you guys so much for being here.
Thank you for having
Yeah.
us.
Thanks for being here, Jess. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
All right. We'll see you guys soon. And if you need anything, Trot and Swiderski. And also, we miss you, AJ. Do you want to get your business in front of over 100,000 viewers every month? Advertise with 321 and enjoy the best value in local advertising while supporting free community live streams. Your message will be seen across live high school sports, morning shows, and local events, connecting you directly with engaged audiences, boosting your visibility, growing your brand, and helping us keep these broadcasts accessible to everyone for free. Partner with 321 today and watch your business thrive.